Hello. So, for those of you who are new here, I have cerebral palsy, ADHD, major depressive disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder. So, I do apologize if my thoughts and my train of thought jumps all over the place. It tends to happen sometimes, and I think that's probably due to the ADHD. But I'm currently not taking any medication. I just finished up my treatment of transcranial magnetic stimulation therapy, or TMS, a little over a month ago, I think. Um, I don't know. I'm very bad. I have very bad time blindness, so it's kind of hard for me to remember exactly how long ago it was, but that was what my last video was about. Um, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I've been going to therapy. I found a therapist who works on who is able to see me on Saturdays because I'm in graduate school part time for speech and language pathology, and I'm also currently working as an SLP for full time for two different schools. And I'm also a mom to a wonderful 10-year-old boy. So I lead a little bit of a busy life. And so I had to find a therapist that could see me on weekends, and I found her through Rula, and she specializes in somatic sensory therapy, which she really kind of emphasizes what I'm feeling, how it feels, and where in the body I'm feeling it, and kind of soothing myself physically and feeling my emotions and all this other stuff. But I wanted to share that as you guys know, I have very, very bad, crippling social anxiety. Yeah, I'm still somewhat functional, so I can still go like to work and do what I have to do, but I suck at socializing. I suck at small talk. I'm constantly stressed at work because I have to share a room with the other speech therapist and the speech therapist assistant. And even though they are amazing, I don't like not having my own space. I don't like feeling like there's always someone there. I don't like to go out. I go out because I have to for work and to attend events sometimes for my son, but I don't enjoy going out and being around people. And on my downtime, whenever I do have downtime like now, I prefer to just be locked in my room watching anime and eating hot Cheetos. Um, so I've always felt awkward around people. I've always dealt with social anxiety. It was a lot worse in the past than it is now. But something happened this past week that I was talking to my therapist about during our session that we just had today. That kind of helped me realize that a lot of my like depressive symptoms and anxiety and a lot of the things that I feel are very much tied to um, events from my childhood and growing up with a physical disability. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. So, what happened was last Wednesday, my son had a Christmas parade with the Cub Scouts because he's in the Cub Scouts, and the pickup truck was all lit up, and some of the parents and some of the Cub Scouts were going to ride on the bed of the pickup truck during the parade, and other parents and other Cub Scouts were going to walk alongside the pickup truck. And my son's dad and I, we are not together anymore. We don't live together, but we co parent and we get along pretty well. I think we're actually better off now than we ever were when we were actually married and living together. Um, he was asking me if I was going to attend the parade. A lot of these events I unfortunately haven't been able to attend because I work all day and then I have graduate school. I have class in the evenings from 6 to 8, and I hate that it gets in the way of me being able to spend more quality time with my son. And this happened to be on a Wednesday, which I don't have class on Wednesdays, so I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." But I was telling him like I have cerebral palsy, and even though I can walk, I'm not in a wheelchair. I walk with a limp, and I get fatigued very easily. I have spastic diplegia, so both of my legs are affected to some extent, but particularly my right leg. I have a lot of spasticity in my right leg, and I get tired very easily. I walk slowly. I have a hard time keeping up with people my balance and coordination are pretty bad. My depth perception is bad. I've never been able to ride a bike or on roller skates, or I don't know how to swim. There's just a lot of things that, even though I can walk, and I know that there are people with CP who have it much, much worse, my disability still very much affects me. So I was telling him, like, I'm not going to be able to walk for that long, and I don't think I'm going to be able to keep up with you guys during the parade. And he said, "Oh, okay. Well, I talked to one of the Cub Scout leaders, and she said that some of the kids and some of the parents are going to be riding on the bed of the truck. They're going to be sitting on chairs on the back of the pickup truck." And she said that she has a chair for you if you want to sit next to Mason and ride with him. And I said, "Okay, yeah, sure." But then I get there, I get dropped off because another thing is I don't drive. And my mom drops me off, and I meet up with my son's dad, and he says, "Let's walk to the pickup truck." So we get there, and I can't get on it. It's like too tall. Like, there's no way that I could physically get on the pickup truck. And I don't know what I was thinking. And so he kind of looked at me and he said, "Oh, well, let me just pick you up and put you on the bed of the truck. Just sit on that chair next to Mason." And I felt like the other parents were waiting for me to get on the back of the truck. The kids were like staring at me, and I said, "Oh no, it's okay. I'll wait here. I'll just watch the parade." And one of the Cub Scout leaders comes up to me and says, "Are you gonna get on it? We have a chair for you." And I said, "Oh no, it's okay." She's like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "No, yeah, I'm fine. I'll wait. I'll wait here. I'll just watch the parade." And my son's dad kept pushing. He was like, "Come on, it's not a big deal. Let me just pick you up and put you on, get you on the back of the truck." And I said, "No, like, I don't want to. Like, I really don't." Like, and eventually they stopped pushing, and I just ended up watching the parade. But I felt bad because I felt like my son was kind of expecting me to get on the back of the truck with him, and I didn't. And in the moment, it was like I just froze, and I felt all this shame and guilt coming back to me and just rushing through my body. And I I don't know if I made the right decision, but I just couldn't do it in the moment. And so that's what I was discussing with my therapist today, um, about how it seemed like something so insignificant, and it was this huge thing for me. And she kind of helped me talk through it and uncover that a lot of that shame and guilt is tied to how I felt when I was younger, and I was constantly bullied and made fun of because of the way that I walk. I was constantly called a cripple. Kids were always staring at me when I walked by because I walk with a limp, and they would look at me and say, "What's wrong with your leg? Why are you walking like that?" And I was heavily bullied. And it got to a point where I really wanted to hide my disability. I would try to walk straight. I would try to walk heel to toe, walk normal, but of course, cerebral palsy is not. It's not something that can be cured, so it didn't really work out. I walk the way I walk, and that's what it is. And sometimes I just didn't want to walk in front of people. Sometimes when I met new people, if there was a place where I could sit, I would prefer not to walk because I didn't want them to see that I walked differently, because then they would start treating me differently and like giving me that look of pity, like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" Um, so yeah, I grew up with a lot of shame around my disability. And when I was in that moment last week where I felt like everybody was staring at me and everybody was waiting for me to get on the back of the truck, and I couldn't do it. Um, I didn't want my son's dad to pick me up and put me there because it was embarrassing and it felt demeaning. And I know that wasn't his intention. He just wanted to help me. But to me, it it just brought back a lot of shame. And it felt like I was in that moment being looked at, being made fun of, being bullied, in that moment of helplessness, of I'm fundamentally broken, um, and I can't be fixed, and it's always going to be like this. And so the way that we've been working through some of these feelings are a lot of somatic work, like I said, but a lot of parts work too. So she basically had me close my eyes and picture the little girl version of myself back years ago that felt like she was being judged and made fun of, and that was crying alone, um, and going through all these things, all these feelings, and had me picture that little girl and going up to her as an adult and just giving her a hug. But she had me, like, again, close my eyes and literally hug myself and tell myself, that younger version of myself, like, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I'm sorry that you experienced all of that alone, but we're safe now. We're adults now. We're not going to be, we're not being bullied at this point, even though those feelings that she was feeling and that I still feel, because there's still, I, I still get triggered, right? So that was a trigger. Those feelings are valid. So also made sure that I validated that the way that I was feeling at the time was perfectly normal and acceptable, and that it wasn't fair that I was being treated this way. And I did reach out when I was younger. I did reach out to my mom for help. And my mom, she is an immigrant, and my parents, they just spent most of their time just working, trying to keep a roof over our head. And they didn't speak English, so they weren't really that involved when it came to school stuff. So when I brought that up to my mom that I was being bullied, she just kind of said, "Oh, just ignore it." And she brushed it off. So yeah, I did a lot of crying during today's session, and realized how I still get very much triggered. I told her that when I started working as a speech therapist, the very first time that a child asked, that one of the kids in one of my sessions asked me, um, "Why do you walk like that?" I felt myself blush because, again, I was triggered. It was like I was back in that moment again where when I was a child. And I just kind of said, "Oh, some people just walk differently." Or sometimes when kids ask me that now, I'll explain to them, "Oh, I have cerebral palsy. It's a disability." And that I don't like go into too much detail because there's just no point in explaining everything. And they just kind of just say, "Okay." And kids will ask because kids are curious. It's not like they're doing it to be malicious or to make me feel bad, but because I still have that trauma, it still triggers me sometimes. So that's what I've been trying to work through. And I feel like much of not being able to be around people, not wanting to be around people nowadays, not wanting to go to parties and to spend time with others and to socialize, I feel like a lot of that is just me being stuck in the past and being triggered about, I don't want to be looked at differently. I don't want to be treated differently. I don't like being around people because being around people was painful back in the day. So I'm trying to dissipate a lot of that shame. And now I'm wondering how much of my personality is actually, am I a true introvert, or do I just have all this social anxiety because of all the crap that I went through as a child? And it's not just the disability part. Like, I think I mentioned that I grew up in a very strict household with Mexican parents who were immigrants who would beat my brother and I if we even so much as looked at them wrong. We could never speak out of turn. We could never embarrass them in front of family members because they cared very much about appearances. So we had to be these perfectly well behaved children, or else when we got home, we would get beat. And of course, that created a lot of anxiety around just being able to talk at all, and being able to, like, be free and normal children, right? So now I have a hard time, like, speaking up for myself and advocating for what I need and asking for help. And I'm very much terrified of even constructive criticism. And when my boss or my supervisor tell me that they need to talk to me, they always kind of text me or tell me, like, don't worry, because I think it's because they know that I'm such a worry wart and I'm always on edge, and they can kind of see that my confidence is very low. And even when it comes to constructive criticism, I don't know. I feel like maybe sometimes being around me is like walking on eggshells because I'm so sensitive, so hypersensitive to so many things. Um, so yeah, it just feels like a lot of that is tied to my disability and childhood experiences. So I'm hoping that as I keep working through these things in therapy, that it will get easier and I'll begin to uncover who I really truly am, because sometimes I feel like I don't even know. But yeah, I, I'm sorry. If you have children who are being bullied, please take them seriously. If they go up to you and tell you, try to do something to stop the bullying, first of all, and secondly, get them into counseling to help them process some of these emotions and some of these things that they went through, because I feel like it really messed me up and I'm just now trying to heal from it. And if you are someone who has, if you have social anxiety or depression and you're not quite sure why or how to go about um, dealing with it or overcoming it, then I would highly recommend getting into therapy, because I feel like it's been very eye opening and it's helped me kind of better understand and work through some of the problems that I'm dealing with. I'm actually not on any medication at this point, so I have my Asteris, which is the ADHD stimulant, as a backup, and I haven't taken it in like, it's been over a month. And the same thing for the clonazepam, which is for my anxiety, and I haven't taken it again. It's been over a month, partly because I got really sick and forgot to take my medication, and then I just didn't take it. But considering I haven't been taking it, and I'm not really dealing with like a depressive episode or anything, and I have my anxiety, but I always have anxiety. It's a pretty like I'm at my basal level of anxiety right now. It's not like any higher than it usually is. It tends to go up and down depending on how stressful work is, and work has been pretty stressful, and so I've been anxious. Next week is my last week of work before Christmas break. So I'm looking forward to that because we get like 3 weeks off. And yesterday I turned in my last final exam for this fall semester that just ended, and I get like a month off from school before I have to go back for spring break in January. So that'll be very, very nice. Anyway, that's basically all I wanted to cover for today. And I will be back.